and yet also be detached? So this is asked by our brother Parag Shah. Again, how does a regular human being living a professional or homemaker path, but also on a spiritual path, how to be compassionate, loving, and feeling others' pain, empathetic, but also be detached? Okay, it's a great question. It's this balance between spirituality and what most people think of as normal life. Because one of the things we emphasize over and over again is, in order to be spiritual, it doesn't mean that you have to abandon your family, not have a job, not grocery shop, not run errands. You do all those things. But you do them in a different way. That's the key. So what is the way to be a professional, to be a homemaker, on a spiritual path full of the spiritual qualities of compassion, of empathy, of love, but also with this quality of what in Sanskrit is called vairagya, detachment? So here's the key. The key actually is understanding what we mean by vairagya. The Sanskrit word vairagya gets, I think, mistranslated in English. You'll hear so many people say, oh, I'm on a spiritual path, I'm practicing being very aloof. I'm very aloof. You think, no, aloof is not something you actually want to practice being. It's not a positive quality. Or they'll say, I'm so detached that, see, this happened to my daughter or my son or my wife or my husband, and see, I don't care. I'm so detached. And again, they say it like that is a good thing. There's no spiritual practice that says thou shalt not care when something happens to a loved one, or thou shalt not care when something happens to anyone. That's not a spiritual path. Spiritual path is all about oneness and compassion. It's about connection, not breaking connection. Yoga is union, not breaking. So what are we detached from? Vairagya is a detachment from the things that make you stuck, the things that are illusory, the things that are false. So it's vairagya from Maya. Vairagya from the games of samsara, this sort of cycle that we all get into, where we get sucked up into it, where it becomes all about our money, our job, our relationships, our roles, our power, our prestige. It's vairagya from that. It's vairagya from that attachment. Because remember, it's detachment. So it's undoing of that which we are attached to in terms of our expectations, our desires, our fears, our ego, our stories. That's what actually the detachment means. A beautiful way of understanding this, actually, I learned it as it happened. I was sitting in a Srimad Bhagawati Katha many, many years ago. The whole idea of vairagya had not made much sense to me because every really enlightened spiritual being I had met was so connected, so compassionate. They were the exact opposite of aloof or indifferent or disconnected. They were right there, so present, so connected. And then I heard in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, that bhakti was not just a virtue, but bhakti was actually a person, a being. She lived, she had her own leela. Now bhakti had two sons, Gyan and Vairagya. So Vairagya is the brother of Gyan, of wisdom, and the son of bhakti, meaning you cannot have Vairagya without having bhakti. But then you think that doesn't make any sense, because the way people define Vairagya is dry. Indifference is dry. Aloofness is dry. Disconnection is dry. Bhakti is juicy. We talk about bhakti ki ras, that essence, that juice of bhakti. How can you have dry detachment from juicy love? You cannot. And so what I realized is that detachment is actually the wrong translation for Vairagya. It's actually reattachment, meaning you've got to go through the mother first. So first we have bhakti. First we fall in love with God. When you are in love with God, whether you're the one who got the salary raise or the promotion or the corner office or the appreciation at the company's annual event or whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. When you are in that ecstasy of love of God, love for God, love with God, the last thing you're thinking about is who's got a more expensive sari than you do, who's got nicer shoes than you do, who's saying what about whom. You don't care. You don't even notice. That's Vairagya. So absolutely, be a professional, be a homemaker, be in the world. You can have Vairagya. It doesn't mean you don't care about your job or your family. But what it means is, first and foremost, you are in love with God. And that love of God permeates everything you do. Whether it's permeating the way you're doing your job, serving God, right? I mean, ask most people what one of their least favorite jobs in the day is. And most people will tell you it's something like sweeping the floor, cleaning toilets, sweeping the floor. Like, no one says, oh my God, I can't wait to sweep the floor. Like, this is a great job. But then you look at Shabri, who turned sweeping the floors into puja. She's sweeping and sweeping and sweeping kyunki Ram aayenge. She's sweeping for Ram. It's puja, it's prayer. It's being done out of love for God. Not only her house, all of the roads. Kyunki pata nahi kahan se aayenge. So she sweeps all the roads wherever he might come from in ecstasy. So it's not when you are spiritual and spiritually detached, you don't do your duties. Of course you do them. She was detached from what? Silly little things. I guarantee you, she was not the village gossip. I guarantee you she was not the person to go to find out who was fighting with whom, who was having an affair with whom, who was saying what about whom. Because that Vairagya was in such a way, she did everything, but she was in such love of God that whatever she did was being done in that juice of love for God. So that's the Vairagya we need, is detach yourself from the drama, the ego, the stories, the nonsense. Detach from that so that you can actually fully and completely immerse yourself in love of God, in that bhakti. And remember always to stay very close to your brother Gyan, right? Because Gyan's the brother. So again, you know, two seeds from the same womb, two flowers from the same soil. Where we have Gyan, we have Vairagya. Where there's wisdom, there's detachment. Because it isn't wise to stay stuck. Because then you can never achieve your goal. Then you're stuck. So we immerse ourselves in bhakti, holding the hand of Gyan, going with Gyan, and then Vairagya is there. And that's the Vairagya you want. Great. Other questions? Any question yes, of course, come forward.
Pranam.
Pranam.
My question is this. If our nearest family member cheat us, how can we tackle this kind of situation? It's one way forgive them or give answer. It is very difficult for me to forgive them.
Yeah, of course.
What should I do in this kind of situation?
Great. What do we do when a very close family member cheats us? It's very hard to forgive, he says. So, there's two aspects. One is what you could consider the pragmatic, logistic aspect, and the other is what you consider the emotional and spiritual aspect. On a pragmatic level, you do whatever you can do to repair the situation. If they cheated you in business, or they cheated you financially, do whatever you can do to fix it, to get justice, to get back what is yours. Absolutely. Absolutely. But don't let your heart get polluted with anger. Don't let your heart drown in anger. Because then they've cheated you for your money once. But now they've also stolen your heart, and they've stolen your mind, and they've stolen your sleep, and they've stolen your appetite, and they've stolen your health, and they've stolen your peace of mind. Right? Originally they just stole some money or some land or something else. But because we get so angry, and because we cannot let go, we end up giving them also our peace, our mental health, and everything else. So on the pragmatic, logistic level, जो भी आपको करना है, ठीक करने के लिए उसको कर लीजिएगा. Definitely. ऐसे नहीं है कि just because they're family, they can do things like that. But don't take it into your heart. Do what needs to be done logistically, but don't take that hatred in your heart. Keep your heart clean. And allow yourself to keep loving them in your heart. You may be very angry at the action they did, but remember that they are not their actions. They are soul, they are spirit, they're divine. You're one soul. So don't allow them to be kicked out of your heart. Hold them in your heart. in love and compassion. Pray for them. Whenever you do your prayers, pray for them. Because I'll tell you something. If somebody steals from you, it means they are in trouble in their own mind. Nobody would steal from anybody, let alone a family member, my God, unless they were really in trouble in their own mind and their own heart. Anybody who doesn't move through the world with love is someone who's troubled inside. So have compassion for them. When you pray, pray for them. Oh God, give them peace. Give them a sense of well-being. Let them know they have enough. Because I promise you something also. If they didn't feel like they had enough, such that they had to steal from you, I promise that they still feel like they don't have enough. Because then it's never enough. So pray for them. Find it in your heart to forgive them. Just only remember, don't remember this cheating thing they did. Only remember the beautiful aspects of your relationship in your heart. But when it comes to logistics, pragmatics, and it might be easier to have someone else take care of that for you so that you don't have to get your, heart all upset. But spirituality does not mean you become a doormat. So it doesn't mean you let people walk all over you and take advantage of you. Spirituality means you're strong. But you are compassionate and loving and forgiving. Forgive them from your heart. Do what you need to do to get back the money or the land if you need it. If you don't need it, and you've got lots of extra, chalo jani do for it. Then it's not worth it. But if you need it, do whatever you need to do to get it back. But while loving them in your heart. Because if you give them your peace and you give them your love and you give them your sleep and your appetite and your life, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So find that forgiveness. But also be intelligent. And do whatever needs to be done to get justice and fix the situation if you need to. And of course, take whatever steps you need to make sure it doesn't happen again. Yeah, because just because they're family doesn't mean that they can walk all over you, disrespect you, take advantage of you, cheat. Take care of yourself, but keep loving them. Beautiful. Yes, wonderful. It's all you can do. The power of intention is very strong. So instead of saying, I will try, because that in our mind says, wo nahi hoga mere se. Instead of that, say, I intend to. I intend to, meaning that is my intention. We still realize we're human, but at least we're not giving ourselves such an easy out. My intention is to do this. I am holding this in my intention. Beautiful. Good. Yeah. Other questions? Yes.
So nice to hear you. Me and my wife were discussing and we have come up with a question that
Sure.
What is the path of spirituality, how to maintain spirituality being in a social life?
Beautiful. And very relevant question also. They're all relevant, everybody. So, you'll notice if you go through all of our scriptures, our Puranas, all of the stories, mostly all of the rishis, the sages, even our divine incarnations, Bhagwan Ram, Bhagwan Krishna, they're in householder lives. They're in the midst of what you would call regular life. Meaning all of the teachings that we're given are teachings that are given from one householder to another householder. Right? Bhagwan Krishna speaking to Arjuna. Right? Krishna, of course, is God, but he's God on earth in the form of a householder, ke samse. Speaking to a householder. Meaning the teachings that are given are teachings for everyone. There's nowhere that it says, Acha, these are teachings for sannyasis. Acha, these are teachings only for the sadhus. These are teachings only once you become 85 years old. They're all teachings for all of us. What does spirituality even mean? It's simply, if you look it up in the dictionary, it literally just means pertaining to spirit. Means related to spirit. So, the way of looking at the world materially says, I am matter. I'm bones, I'm skin, I'm muscles, I'm blood. I am made up of matter. And you are made up of matter. And in between us, there's empty space. Spirituality says, you have a body that is made of matter, but you are not the body. You are the spirit. You are the soul. The body is born and dies. You do not die. You are not born. So spirituality is simply a commitment, an intention to see ourselves in the world as spirit rather than matter. So when you go with your friends, as you say, and you see them, what's the first thing you see? Oh, nice shirt, nice pants. Oh, where'd you get those shoes? God, those look expensive. Or do you see them as spirit and soul? You know, when you meet each other, we say namaste. Namaste literally means the divine in me bows to the divine in you. So instead of just Hare Yad, namaste. I, as soul, see you, honor you, celebrate you, bow to you as soul, as spirit. I don't just see your fancy shoes. I don't see your nice shirt. I don't see this. I don't see that you gained weight or lost weight, or you have some new expensive watch. In the same way that I'm not hoping that you'll notice my new shoes. I don't wonder, why didn't he notice my watch? Why didn't he comment on it? It's brand new. Do lakh ka gadi. I'm not looking for that from you. What I'm looking for from you is that you see me as spirit. That you acknowledge me as spirit, that we connect with each other as spirit. So when you move through the world spiritually, it means whoever you're seeing, whatever you're doing, you're seeing people as spirit, not just as bodies. But it also means on a day-to-day level that we stay anchored and grounded in our spiritual tenets, right? I mean, what are our basic spiritual tenets? Compassion, non-violence, the world is a family, Vasudev Kutumbakam, right? Ahimsa. We see God in all. Basic tenets. Be kind, be caring, be sharing, right? So hat se kamao, hazard hat se banto. Right? These are the ways, the very, very what you could call pillars of spirituality and dharma. So it means when you go out, doesn't mean you can't see movies, no problem. Doesn't mean you can't go for pizza, have pizza, no problem. But it means that you don't do things that violate your spiritual ethics. That there's not a spiritual you and a social you, but that it's just one you. Doesn't mean you have to go out only in, dhoti, kurta, and chant mantras as you're hanging out with your friends, but that identification is the same. That you don't change who you are to be with your friends, and if you have to do that, get yourself some new friends. Really, if you find that you can't be spiritual among your friends, get new friends. Because ultimately you want friends who you can be yourself with. You want to be in social circles where you can be yourself. You don't want to be with people where they're saying, "Kiare, why are you not drinking? Why are you not doing that?" It's not the social circle you need. Milte kuch bhi nahi usse. So you maintain yourself in the values, in the ethics, in the truth, and go out. Go for meals, go for golf, go for movies, go for vacations. But you carry your spirituality with you. It's not like you are somewhere else and you forget it. One time, we were somewhere. I won't give any details so that there's no possibility of knowing who I'm talking about. But one time, Pujya Swamiji and I were somewhere, and we were with several other spiritual people from India. Outside of India we were, but we were with a group of spiritual people from India. And where we were, they had put together dinner for us. And it was vegetarian by Western standards. Western standards do not consider eggs to be non-veg. Bhojan was fine. Then they bring out cookies and cake and things like that afterwards. Though very quietly, maine kaha, and I said it in Hindi so that the people who were hosting us would not understand what I said, but just very slowly, because I come from America, I've seen all of these cakes and cookies and pastries, I know. So very quietly in Hindi maine kaha कि उसमें अंधे हो, ये मत खाओ. One of the people who was with us proceeded to take a whole bunch of them onto his plate. So I thought maybe he hadn't heard me. And I said कि आप इसको मत खाइएगा क्योंकि वो vegetarian नहीं है. तो he said कोई बात नहीं, वापस जाके गंगा जी में स्नान करेंगे. That's not a model you want to follow, right? That's not what it means to carry spirituality into the world. It means I am who I am. My truth is my truth. I'm not necessarily going to have to go and convince you or proselytize to you, but I'm also not going to let go of the very most fundamental core tenets of my belief just because you're doing something different or just because the opportunity arises. So that's it. It's very simple. It's not complicated. Beautiful. Of course. Of course. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world. And I hope that while you're here, you will all also really take part in all of the beautiful programs that we have here at Parmarth every day. Obviously the beautiful Ganga Aarti you just came from. But we also have a beautiful morning Havan ceremony, a fire ceremony, that, as Pujya Swamiji announced, is going to be starting from 7 a.m. tomorrow instead of 8 a.m. Then we have beautiful yoga classes, meditation classes, philosophy classes. So while you're here, everything is open to everyone, free to everyone. So feel free to really fill your days with as much as you possibly can while you're here. And I look so forward to seeing you all again tomorrow evening.